This is Jenn's book, Release and Reconnect Through Writing, and also Nature Guides. And it feels like I said Nature Guides specifically as a focus right now, just because is there something that we can all learn from nature, which has been inspired as well from this book for you?
Absolutely. So when I felt most lost and really without answers, when life's just not making sense, before I ever had tools to really use, nature was my teacher. And I would go outside wherever it was and just try to connect with nature and breathe into what was there. And what I realized was nature always makes sense. So even if whatever's happening in my life doesn't, everything's in perfect order with nature. There's no plant, no animal, no insect, no aspect of nature that isn't with a very specific purpose. And they all interconnect and are symbiotic. And so what I did was I paired my photography, which I've from travels around the world, paired it with the lessons that I've taken personally from moments and animals. And so, for example, being out at Yosemite and seeing the night sky and recognizing that in the darkness is when the stars are visible. There's too much other light. You can't actually see those stars. And so recognizing that in my own darkest moments in my life, that's when the stars were visible, and that's what helped guided my path. So what I've tried to do is put together wisdom from animals and allowing that to come forth as journal prompts for people. So,
Personal.
yeah. So I have friends and other fellow coaches that will often use this almost like a tarot deck. And so they'll ask a question or set an intention and then flip to a page, and it always ends up being the right prompt.
Should we do that right now?
Sure. So what question would you like to ask?
Let's see. So let's ask, universe, what would you like to show me right now as far as for my healing, what is needed in this moment?
So it's a leopard.
Oh, okay. I like that. Thanks, universe. It's a message.
It says, the solitary and nocturnal leopard spends much of his time up in the protection of trees where he eats and sleeps. The leopard spots camouflage well with the tree bark and branch shadows. Where do you do your best problem solving? What environments enable your creativity and ease?
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. That is exactly what I am. And to hear also too the healing aspect of it for writing. Because that's, if you guys, as far as at home, I personally am a writer as well. And so to hear that, aspect too, and it's always very healing for myself, like the kind of, books that I write and other things, they're all about just an interpersonal connection and relating to, kind of going into those environments within myself and releasing that way. And really giving that authentic truth, and so it's interesting how the leopard too, because that to me is like the spots as well, and
Yes.
and it's a beautiful creature, but it does have the dark aspects too.
And while the audience is not necessarily privy to the conversation that we just had, it's fitting in that we were talking about shadow self, and we were talking about spots, and we're talking about the work that's done when we're solitary at night. So I think it was less the questions for the journal prompt and more that's where we do the inner work, is that solitary nocturnal time, like the leopard, that camouflages amongst the branch shadows.
Wow. And it's interesting, Jen, it's like, it's interesting how for each different person it's going to evoke a unique message. As we know with any type of like tarot deck or anything, it's interesting to always hear how people perceive the information, even if like what I heard and what you heard and what you look at. So it's like in your book, it's beautiful. It's like you get the journal aspect, which is of course the message, but then you get the visual aspect. And for some people, they're going to gravitate more towards, it was funny, my mind went right to writing you know, because that's a big focus for me, and so I extract that type of message from it. But that's the beauty of, you know, when you allow yourself that space.
Yes.
You know, it's all going to be your own unique experience.
It's your own lens, how you interpret, how those prompts and those pictures are a reflection of what your journey is and the question that you've asked yourself.
Well, I love that too, because it's like a big oracle deck. It's a big oracle deck. And I love that, Jen, because, you know, I personally, in my own, you know, personal life, I use oracle decks, but I love to, of course, use them for some, you know, clients as well that I see. And it's interesting because it is such a beautiful transmutation of, you know, just setting an intention like you just did. And it's so easy and quick. And look at what you can do, though, like with a big, you know, like this is something that you can really allow yourself to submerge in.
Yes.
You know?
Especially for those who enjoy writing out and through whatever they're going through.
Yes.
You don't necessarily have to be an author or a writer.
No,
just simply
no.
allowing whatever's internal to come out onto that page is healing in and of itself.
Yes. And that, you know, on that note too, it's interesting. It's like simple letters that we write to ourselves, right? I think that's very powerful. And is there a letter, Jen, that you've like written to yourself, like that you feel like really transcended a lot of things in your life as well?
So I write to my future self.
Oh, you do? Okay,
So,
yeah.
Right hand is me as I am now, talking and asking questions to future self, and left hand is what the future self is responding.
Wow. And do you think that's like an aspect of too, kind of allowing yourself to just channel a bit, like, you know, and I think that's the cool thing is like channeling can be that simple.
Yes.
And it really is that simple. It's really that simple. We sometimes, you know, and that's okay because that's what we do. We start to learn more like, oh, okay, like I'm actually channeling, you know, I'm channeling my higher version, my highest self, and it's such a great tool to see like, oh, wow, you know, like it can be this easy and simple and trusting what comes out.
Yes.
That's so big because sometimes when I even know for myself, you know, when I'll write something down, you know, my kind of like, I'll go, well, you know, like, is this how I really, you know, feel in that way? But no, it's like, no, it is how I really feel.
Yes.
Like to validate that, you know, and it's such a great tool for people. So getting to read the book, it also will help you to release through writing.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Jen, as far as even allowing that experience with the tarot.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.